Okay, this is the last hand we're going to show you with floating in 3-bet pots. One thing I will say is you'll notice the cards that we have right now are 9-5 suited. Um, you have to take caution when trying these moves at home. I probably wouldn't be calling with 9-5 suited in general on the button. You see Dan played this hand, he probably wouldn't be calling either. We're trying to get in spots that are interesting to try to show you how to make some moves, but I do want you to exercise caution at home. We are trained professional sputards, and we've done this a lot. And sometimes we lose stacks. If any of you have been sitting with us the past, I guess in the end of November was when we were playing the majority of our hands, and we've, gotten in quite a few stacks with 9 high against a set. I remember actually one time I got in ace 10 off on a king 3-4 board versus pocket threes. My logic being he either had a set or nothing. And I was right. He had a set. So the point is, we wind up looking like idiots sometimes, but over the long run, we do maximize our expectation. But if you're not that comfortable, I would stick to like 9-8 suited. So for all intents and purposes, why don't we just pretend like we have 9-8 suited in this hand, and we'll continue from there. Anyway, so this is a cool hand because it's one way to demonstrate another form of floating, which is going to be on the turn. So let's take a look at this hand and what happens here. So the cutoff, so we raise on the button because we have 9-8 of spades, and we get re-raised again. So of course we call. And here's the flop: ace 10-10, ace 10-10 with 2 hearts. That's not the best flop for our hand, though we do have a backdoor flush draw. But this is the cool thing about the hand: he checked to us. That's interesting. He checked to us. What does that mean? Does it mean that he doesn't like his hand? Well, it's very possible that means he doesn't like his hand. Does that mean I'm going to go ahead and bet? This isn't the best board texture for it. And actually, the very next hand I'm going to show you after this one is one where I love the board texture for just betting once I get checked to in a 3-bet pot as a bluff. So we'll talk about that. But this isn't the best board texture. People will check this with aces. People will also check this with jacks or queens, but then call a bet. People will check raise with draws, things like that. So I'm not thrilled about trying to take this pot away right here and now. But once again, folks, we have position. I told you you'd get tired of us saying it, but it's going to come up again and again and again. Position, position, position. So we're going to check behind and see what he does on the turn. So the turn, that's like kind of a cool card. It's another 10. So now, of course, any ace is the nuts. And now I decide that I'm not really convinced that he's in love with his hand. He's checked the flop, and now he's gone and bet about half the pot on the turn on an ace 10-10-10 board. So once again, a very similar board texture to last time because any draw is irrelevant, because if I do have an ace, I obviously have a boat. So he can't put me on a flush draw once I call. So I'm going to call this, and once again, if it turns out he was checking with an ace, he's going to bet the river for value, and we have an easy fold with 9 high. And if he checks to us, then he's probably got nothing, and we can probably take him off the hand. A lot of people, what they'll do in this situation, if they have a pocket pair, like let's say he has pocket queens. This is not a good way to play the hand, folks, but what some people do is he might bet half pot here and then plan to check fold the river. Like he might think that we could call with pocket nines and then check behind. But we're not going to do that. What we're going to do is we're going to see if he bets into us again to see if he has an ace, and then if he doesn't, we're just going to take this away on the river. So once again, we make the call. The river is a king. So the river's a king, which I'm not actually thrilled with. I was going to actually bet pretty small. I don't remember what my bet size actually turns out to be. Why don't we figure it out together? Okay, so 87 into a 110. Now, normally, I don't think you need to bet a ton here. A little less would probably do the trick. But in this case, I guess Dan played this hand. He was a little concerned that this person might have hit the king with a king-queen type hand, which makes a lot of sense. So we thought, a bigger bet. We're obviously representing an ace, but we don't want him to talk himself into some sort of weird call with a king. So, bet a little more. It looks like we're trying to get value from an ace. That's just same exact thing we were talking about. It's a turn float, instead of floating on the flop. So there you go. It's just a board where there's no need to bluff raise. If you raise, you're not really representing very much. but calling represents immense strength, and it's just using position to take away a pot in a spot where he can't really put us on a weak hand, unless he puts us on exactly the play that we're making. And since so few people in 1-2 are making this move, it's going to work extremely, extremely well. You just have to start doing it, early on after this video airs, because then everyone's going to do it. It's going to be a shit show. No, I'm just kidding. It's going to work great. So that concludes our section on floating. But as promised, I will show you a little bit of a flop steal, and in what I consider to be a pretty cool situation.